Was it a challenge to take it on, chasing Mavericks after?
Well, yes. I mean, and I had no idea how big a challenge it was, really. I mean, I was just finishing editing 56 Up, and so they asked if I was free, and so I said sure. And really, the original thing was I was just to go out and finish the shooting for them. There was another 4 weeks to go, while Curtis Hanson, who was the director, was having some tests done down in Los Angeles. They were shooting up in San Francisco. So I went up and I did that shooting, but then it was clear that Curtis couldn't come back, and it was clear that there was a lot more shooting to do than the 4 weeks, and then it was clear that someone had to direct the post-production and all that, so it became a year. What started out as 4 weeks became a year, but it was difficult, yeah.
Did you know anything about the surfing community and the surfing
Nothing.
culture? And
Nothing. I mean, and certainly I never heard of Mavericks. I never knew about big wave surfing. I mean, I've lived in California for 30 years, so I know surfing. I mean, I've never done it. It's always seemed unachievable how you can actually stand up on a piece of wood going through the waves. I've never thought it was remotely possible for me to do that. So I've never tried it, but I've been aware of it, because it's so much part of the culture here. So I was interested in it, and then doubly interested when I knew it was about big waves, about which I knew nothing, and how dangerous it was, and how kind of epic it was.
That's right, those waves are like so epic and intense.
Yeah,
like, how did you kind of deal with those?
Well, it's terrifying. I mean, I didn't do a lot of that. I mean, I was safely on land or safely in a boat, but a lot of them, the second unit and, the specialist photographers they had, it was really frightening, what they were going through. And, we did have one accident when, as it happened, the leading actor nearly drowned, but that was the only accident we had, which was a miracle, because we were really playing our luck.
He drowned?
No, he didn't. Well, he nearly did, yes. He went under. He couldn't really surf very well. This is Mr. Butler, Jerry Butler. But he kind of fancied he should give it a bit of a try, and he had one go at it and did pretty well. So then he wanted another go at it, and this time he got hit by a wave and then hit by another wave, and he was underwater for 40 seconds.
Wow.
Which probably was an eternity, but he was dragged out and taken to hospital, and they kept him in for a day and all that. But it was could have been terrifying.
It's a pretty intense sport to pick up.
I don't know. They're very interesting people who do it, because they're not flash guys at all. They're very kind of serious-minded people. But it is incredibly dangerous, and particularly Mavericks, because the water's cold. And also there's a lot of rocks around, whereas in other places in the world where you can do big wave, Hawaii or Mexico or Australia, South Africa, the water's warm.
Yeah.
And not quite so full of rock and everything, so it's very, very dangerous up here.
Now, how I've always wondered this, but how exactly do you switch out the actor with the real surfer, pro surfer, and make it fluid and kind of?
Well, in this case, they did some of them. Johnny Weston, who plays, the lad, Jay Moriarty, he could surf a bit, so he could do some of it. But basically, we used face replacement, which was very meticulous. You film the real guys doing it, and you film them as much as you want of them, knowing it's not who it should be. And then against a green screen, you shoot the faces of the actors in exactly the position the surfers are, and then you knit on their face to the body. It's very complex, but these days with visual effects, it's staggering what can be done. But that's how we did it.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It took about 3 or 4 months. We had to cut those sequences with Jerry and with Johnny, because the rest of it was done by real world-class surfers, so they were who they were. The other surfers in it were the real thing, so we didn't have to replace their faces. It was just Johnny and Jerry we had to replace, and that took some months to do.
Now, were you literally shooting when El Nino was there, or?
It wasn't a very good year. It was very scary for us, actually. And I mean, I came into it when it was scary, because they decided for whatever reason to do the surfing later on. I mean, they started by shooting the movie, and we hoped to get waves between October and February. But we got to January and we hadn't had any waves, and we'd almost finished shooting the rest of the film. So we had no movie. And the question was, would we get any waves? Well, they did come, it wasn't that big a year, and we didn't get that many days. We could have done with a couple more days. So we weren't that lucky, but at least we did get some good stuff. But it was really alarming around Christmas. Everybody was in a state of panic because without these big waves, we didn't have anything.
Well, I thought they were intensely
Yeah,
huge.
no, it was.
I
It
was
was.
nervous.
Yeah.
What do you think makes Jay's story so inspiring, the main character?
Well, I mean, you know, it is sort of inspirational that you have a dream like that and you're a regular kid and you have no real into anything. You know, you have no real money available to you or contacts available to you, and you really have to go out and do it. And we were very anxious to make it look difficult. I don't mean the surfing looked difficult, because that looks difficult, but to know you had to do a lot of preparation for it. It wasn't something you just got up and did, because we didn't want to encourage young people to do this, you know, so let's go surf Mavericks. So we took a lot of care to show how much work he had to do and how much dedication it took, you know, to prepare for it. So it wasn't just a ride in the park, it was a real commitment. And I think that just made the story that much more interesting. That it wasn't just some great gift he had that he could just go and do it, that you really had to work to get to that state that you could surf those waves.